Hare Krishna, everyone. Very sorry, there was some big technical issue just then. So we'll continue on with today's discussion. Hopefully, we didn't miss too much. I'll just continue on from where we left off. Forgive me for any offenses I may have committed. Okay, so we were discussing the Kumbh Mela according to His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj. There, Maharaj was explaining that in the Kumbh Mela, it used to be very, very cold at that particular time. And obviously it was, during the Kumbh Mela. And there the devotees would wake up at around 4 o'clock every morning. And there were devotees, very, very strong devotees, like His Holiness Ramakrishna Goswami Maharaj, and a few others that got up very, very early and walked all the way down to the very, very cold Ganga River, and they would take their bath. But there were a few devotees in the Brahmachari ashram who would stay sleeping. They would stay sleeping because it was at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it would be so cold outside, very, very cold, where we'll reach a stage where they'll just prefer to stay in their sleeping bags. I'm not sure if many of us have probably had the same experience, where we are sleeping and it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and we just can't get up. So these brahmacharis, they could not get up regardless. And when Srila Prabhupada started to notice that there were a few devotees who weren't waking up for Mangala Arati, he became very, very upset. Understandably, Srila Prabhupada, he didn't like what they were doing. And there, he wasn't very happy because he knew that Mangala Arati was very, very important. So one morning, although Srila Prabhupada at that time was very, very fragile, his body was starting to, deteriorate slowly. Even though he was very, very fragile, he still woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And he left his bunch and he sat underneath the water pump at 4 o'clock in the morning. And there, His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, he gives a very, very nice quote to explain this. He says that he, as in Srila Prabhupada, took that ice-cold bath early in the morning just to encourage us to get up, bathe, and come to Mangala Arati. That had a very profound effect on all of us. And we felt so ashamed that we couldn't sleep late anymore. So here Giriraj Maharaj is saying that Srila Prabhupada, through his own example, showed us that morning is very, very important. So from this we can understand that just studying in the morning is very, very important. And Srila Prabhupada himself said that at this present age, it is not possible to follow all these rules and regulations. But at least everyone who is interested in advancing in Krishna consciousness has earned them and become cleansed before Mangala Arati is a tapasya. So if you really want to do real tapasya, that involves waking up early and starting the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, after a very, very long discussion on the first point, we'll go towards the second point. The second point that we mentioned is that there must be a specific type of person who we should hear from. We can't just hear from anybody. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text number 6, there the Naimisharanya sages explain to Sudha Goswami why they are listening from him. Right? And here they give us the whole criteria to understand who we should listen from. So the sages of Naimisharanya, they are saying in the translation, in the 6th verse, they're saying, the translation goes, the sages said, respected Sudha Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures, famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and histories as well. For you have gone through them under the proper guidance and have also explained them. So from this translation, we must understand that a speaker of the Srimad Bhagavatam must be freed from all vice and at the same time have taken proper guidance. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada also goes on to explain what these vices are. There, Srila Prabhupada says that a Goswami, or the bona fide representative of Srila Vyasadeva, must be free from all kinds of vices. The 4 major vices of Kali Yuga are: number 1, illicit connection with women; number 2, animal slaughter; number 3, intoxication; number 4, speculative gambling of all sorts. A Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasasan. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasan who was not spotless in character and who was not freed from the above-mentioned vices. So Srila Prabhupada says very, very boldly that if we don't follow the 4 regulative principles, Srila Prabhupada says that one must not dare to sit on the Vyasasan. So we must hear from a person who firstly does not take part in the 4 vices of Kali Yuga. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22.131, there it is also said that a speaker, it explains how a speaker must also be surrendered to the bona fide spiritual master. There, Chaitanya Charitamrita says that according to the Vedic injunctions, this is Madhya Lila 22.131, there it says, according to the Vedic injunctions, Yasadeha Bhaktihi. The Srimad Bhagavatam can be recited only by one who has unflinching faith in the lotus feet of Krishna and his devotees, this master. One should try to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam from the spiritual master. So we need to understand that it should not just become a fashion where we listen to anyone who is a Bhagavatam speaker. We can't just listen from just about anyone. We have to listen to some person who is surrendered to the spiritual master. They have to be connected to that parampara, the connection has to be established. And because of this, it is everyone's duty to surrender the bona fide spiritual master. In the Hari Bhakti Vilasa by Srila Sanatana Goswami, 2.10, there it is said that it is a duty of every human being to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master, giving him everything, body, mind, and intelligence. One must take a Vaishnava initiation from him. So we should understand that it is a duty of every single living entity to be surrendered onto a bona fide spiritual master. So if it is a duty for every single person to take shelter with the spiritual master who is bona fide, what then to speak of the Bhagavatam speaker? The person who speaks in Bhagavatam must be bona fide as well and must have that chain established as well. His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj did say very, very nicely in one class that the importance of hearing. There Maharaj said that 1 hour of hearing Krishna Katha can equal up to 10 hours of reading. So 1 hour hearing Krishna Katha equals 10 hours of reading. This is according to His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj. And Srila Sanatana Goswami even explains that he even prays for thousands and thousands of years just to hear the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. But for that, and the glories of Krishna Katha in general, but for that to happen, we need a bona fide source. We can't just hear from anyone. The Srimad Bhagavatam speaker must be connected with a bona fide parampara. Otherwise, if this person is not connected, the Prabhupada tells us we should reject such speakers, because it is very important for a Bhagavatam speaker to be connected with the parampara, as what he speaks should either be what he has heard from the spiritual master or what he has studied. So if we, first few minutes of today's discussion, there this saintly person, when he was approached by Prahlad Maharaj and asked many, many questions, he says that I will repeat what I've heard from my authorities. So we must be very careful that what we hear from the person who we're listening Krishna Katha from, it must not be their own personal interpretation. His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he gave a very, very strong point one time. We all know Maharaj is a very, very strong personality. He's like a preacher. I mean, he's a very light-on preacher. He's very, very strong. And very straightforwardly, he said in one class that if you do not quote the previous acharyas, you are not my disciple, because you are not following the parampara. So unless we actually quote from the bona fide parampara, then we cannot actually call ourselves representatives of this great parampara, of the Brahma Mahadala Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, because we have to repeat what we actually heard. His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, he said a very, very nice point once, that unless we quote from the Shastras, our explanations can only cause disturbance and nothing else. So he says that unless we actually quote the Shastras, quote what we've actually studied, quote what we have heard, then what we say will simply cause disturbance. So it is very, very important that the person we are listening to is connected to the parampara, and at the same time what he's saying is what he has heard on the parampara. Then we can actually get the full value of listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. So now, as we know, with every do, there is a don't. With everything that we should do, there is something we shouldn't do. So who should we not listen to? In Chaitanya Mandali 22.131, there Srila Prabhupada writes all of the types of people who we should not listen to. Now the list goes very, very long. He's spent a whole pulpit explaining who we should not listen to. So we'll just quickly summarize the types of people we should not listen to. So the first types of people Srila Prabhupada says we should not listen to are professional Bhagavatam speakers. So those who are not in the parampara and know Bhakti Yoga, they are simply professional Bhagavatam speakers, which we shouldn't listen to them. The second thing is those who rely on the Srimad Bhagavatam just to strengthen their grammatical knowledge, word jugglery, and satisfying of the senses. In this material world, it is very sad that we see so many people who speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam for profession, but they just do that for their own sense of gratification, just to keep their, the senses intact, just to keep their, keep that sense gratification fire lighting up, you can say. And the third types of people that Srila Prabhupada says we should not listen to are the Mayavadis. Those who are impersonalists, we should be very, very careful not to listen to them. The fourth is those who offend the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And the fifth is those who simply dress up as Vaishnavas. And we do see devotees who dress up, myself included, we dress up with very, very nice tilak, very nice kurtas, very, very nice dhoti, but inside we're not pure enough. So Srila told us that the speakers who are very, very, and who are not connected to the parampara, we must be very careful not to listen to them. So now the question is, what happens when we listen to such speakers? Or we know that it's bad. We know that listening to those speakers who are not bona fide is very, very disastrous to our spiritual advancement. But why shouldn't we listen to Bhagavatam speakers? And in one lecture in Nellore in January the 8th, 1976, there Srila Prabhupada gives the example of milk. Now, milk itself is a very, very nice food, and it is very, very nourishable. Right? Most of us, we've been having milk since we were born. It's very, very important for our day-to-day sustenance. But there Srila Prabhupada says that if it has been just touched by the lips of a snake, if a snake comes and just puts its lips on the milk, it becomes poisonous. Similarly, the Srimad Bhagavatam itself is very, very pure, that it's like milk. At the same time, we have to hear from a person who is, who's a realized person who is bona fide. Otherwise, we're just listening to poison. We're drinking poison. And just like poison can have detrimental effects to a person's health, listening to people who are not bona fide can just affect our advancement in Krishna consciousness. The third point on how we should study Srimad Bhagavatam is that we must inquire in a submissive manner, not in a challenging way, to actually get some knowledge. So to actually get some knowledge, we have to know that we actually ask quite a lot of questions in a curious mind. We need to understand that when we listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, we must have a curious mind. We must ask many, many questions. And the reason why is given by the Naimisharanya sages in 1.1.8, verse number 8, that the Naimisharanya sages say to Suta Goswami that, and because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. So there, the Naimisharanya sages say to Suta Goswami that because he is submissive, the spiritual masters have endowed him with all the favors that are bestowed unto a gentle disciple. So here the secret is submissive. Submissive is a secret word given in this verse. Once we actually submissively approach a spiritual master and inquire very, very submissively and take full surrender, then, only then, we can make all the difference in our spiritual life. In the purport to verse number 8, Srila Prabhupada says in the very, very first sentences that the secret to success in spiritual life is in satisfying the spiritual master and thereby getting his sincere blessings. And if you want to get the secret of success in spiritual life, that secret is that we have to satisfy the spiritual master and then get his sincere blessings. And the best way to succeed in spiritual life, which is one of our biggest endeavors, spiritual life, we must be very, very careful to approach a spiritual master and submissively surrender unto them. In the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada says that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has sung in one of his famous 8 stanzas on the spiritual master as follows: I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Only by his satisfaction can one please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when he is dissatisfied, there is only havoc on the path of self-spiritual realization. It is essential, therefore, that a disciple must be very obedient and submissive to the bona fide spiritual master. Srila Acyuta Goswami fulfilled all these qualifications as a disciple, and therefore he was endowed with all the favors by his learned and self-realized spiritual masters, such as Srila Vyasadeva and others. So there Srila Prabhupada says that a spiritual disciple must be very, very obedient and submissive to the divine spiritual master. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there he has also said that spiritual master is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. If one cannot say that the spiritual master is this personal manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will not be able to utter the holy name of the Lord. I'll repeat this quote again. It's a very, very beautiful point. I'm sure that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying that a bona fide spiritual master is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he says that if one cannot say that the spiritual master is the personal manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will not be able to utter the holy name of the Lord. So if we have any hope of uttering the holy name of the Lord, we have to be very, very careful to actually accept the spiritual master as the direct manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I'll just quickly fast forward because in the interest of time, we don't have much time. It's already 8:24. But in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13, there the Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that what are the characteristics that a listener should have. We've gone through all the characteristics that the speakers should have, the bona fide spiritual masters. But at the same time, we should understand what we should have. When we listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, what should we follow? So there in the translation, verse number 13, there the Naimisharanya sages say, O Acyuta Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead and his incarnations. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous acharyas. For one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. And in this translation, we can understand that the Naimisharanya sages say, please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous acharyas. And in the purport there, Srila Prabhupada says that the conditions for hearing the transcendental message of the absolute truth is set forth within. The first condition is that the audience must be very sincere and eager to hear, and the speaker must be in line of the disciplic succession of the recognized acharya. The first qualification is to hear, because the Naimisharanya sages in the very, very first sentence, they say, O Acyuta Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead. They are eager. They are ready to hear about the Lord's glories. And the second thing that is said is that the speaker must, as we said before, as we stressed repeatedly, the speaker must be in line in the disciplic succession. In His Grace Hari Surya Prabhu, he's made a lot of very, very nice books, very, very nice diaries on his memories of Srila Prabhupada. And in volume 4 of his Transcendental Diaries, His Grace Hari Surya Prabhu writes that there was one English boy. His name was Ravi Das. And Ravi Das just received his second initiation from Srila Prabhupada. He was very young, and he got his second initiation. And he was on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada. And there, he asked Srila Prabhupada a very, very nice question. He said, like, in the second offense of the holy name, there it states that we should not equate the name of the demigods with Krishna's. So there, this devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, so how are we to understand the name of the spiritual master? In Kirtana, when we chant the name of the spiritual master, is that spiritually potent? Now, this is a valid question because we do read we do read and we do hear that we must not compare the names of the demigods with the Supreme Lord. That itself is a whole topic in itself. But this devotee was asking Srila Prabhupada the question that what about the names of the spiritual master? Are they the same as the Supreme Lord? How do we understand them in that regard? And His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj, he tried to explain this answer. He said that first, the spiritual master's position is far superior to that of the demigods. And Srila Prabhupada cut him off just there. Srila Prabhupada then said that even the demigods are very, very pure devotees. Right? And he gave the example of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma himself, he's a great devotee. He's the head of our sampradaya. In our sampradaya, we are Brahma, Madhava, Gaudiya, Vaishnava sampradaya. And Lord Brahma is the founder of that sampradaya. So Lord Brahma is a very, very great devotee. So the question is, how do we understand the spiritual master? Then Srila Prabhupada's answer was when His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj wasn't able to answer the question. There Srila Prabhupada says that he gives direct knowledge of Krishna, therefore he is as good as Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says that the spiritual master is as good as God because he's very dear to Krishna. He's preaching Krishna's mission and Krishna is very, very pleased with him. Therefore, we should understand that the spiritual master is just as important as Lord Krishna himself. Srila Prabhupada is saying that because he gives direct knowledge of Krishna, he's as good as Krishna. So because of that, we must be very, very careful to make sure that we surrender to the spiritual master and inquire submissively. And if we look at our Vedic literature, I think I'll try and make this my final point that I'll make today. If we look at our Vedic literature that we have with us, we can see that everything we have comes from submissive inquiry. Right? Just a couple of days ago, we had Gita Jayanti. There, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita came because Arjuna asked Krishna questions. If Arjuna didn't ask Lord Krishna so many questions, we wouldn't have the Bhagavad Gita with us. Most of the Puranas that we even have actually come from questioning. Parikshit Maharaj was asking Shukadeva Goswami so many questions, and that is why Srimad Bhagavatam came. Even the Naimisharanya sages, in this chapter, we can see the Naimisharanya sages asked Sutta Goswami so many questions. And because of that, we can understand that most of our Vedic literature actually comes from questioning, where questions are being asked and answered. And Srila Prabhupada has also given the meaning of Upanishad. Upanishad, it's made of two words, Upa and Nishad. Upa means by, and Nishad means sit down. So the literal meaning of Upanishad is sit down near the spiritual master or authority and ask questions. So by asking questions, that is the best way for us to progress further in devotional service. Otherwise, without asking questions, we can't go anywhere. This is very, very important to understand that we actually have to ask questions. And Srila Prabhupada himself said that satisfaction for the soul can only be obtained by questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. So on that note, I'll conclude here just to summarize all the points made today. We covered 4 points on how to study Srimad Bhagavatam. The first point we covered was that to study the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we did see that the morning is the best time. Morning is recommended by Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas. The second thing that we can learn is that there must be a specific type of person that we hear from based on criteria given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This person has to be freed from vices. The third thing we learned is that this person has to be connected to a bona fide parampara. And the final thing we learned is that we must inquire in a very, very submissive way, not in a challenging way, to actually gain some knowledge and be very, very submissive in approaching this spiritual master. So on that note, I'll conclude here. I would want to ask for forgiveness. We did have a very, very long technological delay halfway through the class, which wasn't very convenient. But thank you very much for staying online. And if I did say anything wrong, anything offensive, I did say anything at the wrong time or in the wrong manner or in the wrong spirit, please do forgive me. And please pray for me, please bless me that I can somehow or other improve in this service. Grandfather Srimad Bhagavatam Parabrahmana ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudeva ki jai, Nitya Gaura Premanande.